So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true.
Good evening and welcome to the Traffic Report. My name is Howard, and, well, you know my name. John will not be with us tonight. He is suffering with pneumonia and a cracked rib. So we have special guest host tonight, a friend of the show, V. Welcome, V.
Hi, Howard. Happy to be here. Sad that JT is laid up and not well, and we wish him all the best.
Yeah,
for a quick recovery.
I miss his introduction. So I'm supposed to say something to the effect of, from the chilly, well, it's not chilly. It's actually freezing.
It is definitely freezing.
Yeah, so cold they created a hashtag for it. It's about like 15 degrees here, so it's not going to be breaking for a couple days. So
no.
But what are you going to do? And we didn't have a show on Tuesday. It was kind of a last minute thing. John wasn't feeling well, and I was actually running real late. So if it would have been if I would have got back just in the nick of time, and I was telling V before the show, I've done one or two shows solo, and I don't know how people do it. It's very difficult to just sit and talk for an hour with no feedback, and
it's like being in solitary confinement.
yeah, a lot of thoughts go through your head, like what I'm talking about, is anyone listening, does it make sense? So, but we're going to do, this is the last show of 2017, and John and I I guess we were going to plan to do a wrap up show, but we'll do it with V. It's like everybody. It doesn't really matter who's on the show doing the talking, whether it's myself, John, or anybody else. We've all it's all been. 2017 has just been, obviously, it's been the most incredible year in my life. And
Absolutely.
Obviously, well, you've been following this stuff a lot longer than I have. So what are your thoughts on knowing about all this for years and then seeing what has happened in 2017 as regards to...
I think that's the interesting thing, because, certainly being a survivor, that put me in a category of, I thought I was completely different than everybody else. So I grew up believing that, with the exception of one person that I went to school with that I met probably around the 6th grade, who was going through similar things, and we never actually even talked about it. We just knew it was happening to each other. But, it's interesting because I spent years into my young adulthood feeling different than everybody else. And then even after I became a social worker and I was working with abused children and all these other things, and then you'd hear stories here and there of, about pedophiles and different situations. And then certainly in this last year, when all of us kind of converged together, were brought together of like minds, I'm still blown away. It's still mind-blowing to me to tweet out these stories, and we were talking earlier tonight about, the breadth of these stories that some of them are just so horrific. And it just seems like there's no end to them. There's no end to the supply of what's happening out there. And it's scary.
No, there's definitely no end. And, whether it's, whether this stuff has been going on, under the radar for years, and it's just, we're just paying attention more now, or it's become more prolific, we'll have to, we'll have to figure that out. But,
sure.
It's, I never would have imagined, that I would be, in 2000, for an entire year, like to be here and, and to have so much information coming, about this, something, I'm 48 and a half years old, something I never really paid attention to my entire life. I was always a little bit in tune, to the Catholic Church scandal, and it always boggled my mind how people could still support them. But that was pretty much, you'd hear a story every now and again, but as much as the next person, I just never thought about it.
Sure.
And, and now it's, every day, let's
you
say
can't escape it. It's everywhere.
Yeah. It's not all I think about, but it's in the top, it's in my top, if I go on Twitter, I mean, that's, it's what I do. So that's what I was just saying. Like, did you ever think that, for knowing about this for all these years, that you would ever see, it would ever come to light like this?
No. And I definitely think everything's been exacerbated in my mind because of the internet. I mean, let's face it, you can be anywhere in the world and people can be sharing information. They can be sharing videos. People are live streaming the abuse of children, we know, all over the world. And these were things that obviously generations ago, if minor attracted people, pedophiles, they didn't have access like this. Where did they get their materials? Well, we know that there were networks of people literally mailing these goods through the post offices and whatnot. But how did they reach out to each other? How did they find each other? How did they network to share this information to begin with?
But you also needed, right? But you also needed equipment and stuff, and now it's everybody. Every single person, is a potential, pornographer, child pornographer.
Absolutely.
Because everybody has a recording device, so it's
everybody's a reporter or worse. So.
Well, it works both ways. But I for a wrap up show, 2017. But I think it's more or less talking about going forward in 2018, and I don't like calling like pedogate or a movement. I consider just a community. I consider it like an online community. Because a movement is, and it just doesn't I don't know what the exact word is, but I always feel as though we need to do, individually we need to do more. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about, hopefully, some things that we can do as individuals, to help, stop this, because as we get wins every day, information coming out, but the reality of the situation is, there are children being, it doesn't do the children any bit of good.
No,
we can feel better about ourselves, and we're trying and all this stuff, but
But the truth is, what happens to these victims? Rarely do we ever hear what happens. Every once in a while, a few children are rescued, or we'll hear that there's some type of resolution. But 99% of the time, people are being arrested for these crimes, but where are the victims?
Right.
What's happening with them?
Right, because we know that there are not enough qualified child psychologists to deal with this problem. Like they're just being left. It would be a virtual impossibility that they could be getting the help and support that they need based on
Well, exactly. And then, of course, we throw in there, which a lot of our friends and colleagues that these issues are very important to, look at all the issues with foster care and with children's services, and which all ties into this. Mm-hmm. And so there's no safe harbor for the children, even after they're possibly rescued.
Well, John and I had talked about it, because he's in communication with somebody on Facebook that, and there are, the horror stories that come out of Child Protection Services Department, whatever you want to call it. One of our things that we really want to do, and we've talked about, going forward in 2018, is really start putting pressure on these agencies and hold them accountable. And, there's different ways to do that, but, obviously getting in their faces, whether standing outside or making phone calls and letting them know that people are paying attention, is, one way to do it. So,
and I personally,
CPS is, CPS, whatever we want to call it, is definitely, on one of the top of the lists for, for
because I don't think there's a state in this country that has programs that are worthwhile. I mean, I said some things on Twitter about it today. I do frequently. When I started out my social work career, it was in children's services, and I very quickly was out of there because it's completely depraved. If you're there to actually do what you thought you signed on for, you're going to be looked down upon. You're going to be blacklisted.
That's the impression. That's the impression that I get.
All those things are a reality. I've lived it, and we see this time and time again in stories and things that are coming out about the children. Obviously, end up as the losers, and then as long as the federal government is funding all these programs, the children are the money makers. The children are the pawns in all this.
Right. Well, getting to the root of this is, it's a complicated thing, but getting back to what we can do individually to, if people know that they're being watched, if all of a sudden different agencies start getting random phone calls, people start showing up on the door. A lot of this, the social media aspect is is wonderful, but I've said it several times. We don't need any more information. We can't even deal with all the information that we have. Okay, of all the people that we would like to go after.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, the story of it was like Kansas DHS where 70 children were unaccounted for. I read another story. It was 50 people had been, abused, and I'm not going to remember. It was tweeted out to Pedogate News. I believe I just tweeted it out today. But I mean, like who's following up? But that's what we should be doing. We, as in everybody who's involved in this, and like I said, if you can't show up, everybody can pick up a phone or get a burner phone if you're worried about making a phone call or somebody knowing who you are. Yeah, and just we also need like a bit of coordination is definitely important. Getting groups and assigning tasks, of people that are willing to do this type of stuff, and to make sure that we're covering all bases and basically, run it like an organization. And because I think Twitter is it's like whatever you see, and everybody's guilty of it. Whatever's coming across, and that's you get something in your head, and then you jump on something else, and then you.
Well, and it's not clean communication, because with shadow banning and everything else that goes on, we don't even know what's getting where and when. So,
right, but we need to be more organized. We need to have a plan. It's like, okay, all right, we have all this stuff out there. What do we want to do today? What do we want to do this week? Okay. Are there 20 people that want to make phone calls? Are there 50 people to make phone calls? Are there 5 people that want to show up somewhere? Hey, we saw this in this town. Can somebody go attack? Are there people? You know what I'm saying? Does it make sense to you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think, with our lawmakers, we need to take a hard look at what's going on from state to state, because as we know, when we see these busts, the sentences, there's no rhyme or reason when you look at one state to the next for sentencing. The crimes are not even discussed with the same verbiage, which is confusing to people. And, we talk about this all the time, too. And Lori Handrahan's been such an angel with all of her research and, talking about how don't call it child porn, it's child rape. I mean, this is not, when you think about pornography, it's one thing if it's consenting adults, and certainly human trafficking is another story. However, when it comes to children, this is not, these children are not signing up to act in these films and
right. It's not pornography. Right. It's not pornography. Right. It's not.
No,
right.
It's not. And I think we need to get rid of some of these statements that put ideas in people's heads that are not accurate and are certainly not serving the children.
Well, that's another way to put. But that's another thing that putting pressure on. If you read an article, because these articles only come out generally in local newspapers, and pick up the phone and call the editor's desk and say, why are you calling it a molestation or what
sexual assault or
sexual assault, right?
What do all these things mean?
Right. And why? I mean, some people, listen, I've read articles and they do call it child rape, and
I have too. Few and far between, but
yeah, it doesn't seem to be the most popular of the
no.
And they, and when they're talking about, things, they tend to bury them. But, if you see something that, you can pick up a phone and, and call the paper that, a lot of times they have the contact information for the writer of the articles.
Right.
But you said something earlier.
I think we need to bring pressure to bear too on where these people that are being arrested, what applications are they using on the internet? Where are they getting, where are they sourcing their information and their materials that they're looking at? Or the people that are, we see all the time people being arrested for the production and distribution. Well, okay, great. Where are they distributing these materials? Who are they? Where are they distributing them? What happens to them after that? Where are the victims that this person used in making of these materials? And we never find out any of these answers. Yeah,
well, we know. I mean, I've seen plenty of articles and reports where just it's basically like they're doing Skype calls. Just as we're doing a Skype call now, they're doing Skype video chats, and I don't know how the payment works, but how these people are meeting up. But it's really we came up with this before the show. It's like we have this just tons of information of what is going on. We know what is going on, but we don't know the hows and the whys,
right,
of what's going on. How are they doing this? How are they meeting up? And, we have to take it, going forward, we have to take it to a different level, because as much as I know personally about what is happening, I don't know exactly how it's happening. I mean, I have theories on how it's happening, but I don't know how these, people, I don't know how they're connecting. That if they are, if they're, selling this stuff and live streaming and whatever.
Well, based on what we see, it certainly doesn't look that difficult for people to access all of this information. And
we're going to use simple examples of, we're starting to see stories of, mothers, and then one just came out, sexually, raping their toddlers.
Yes.
For money, and this,
with all the opioid epidemic that we're facing in this country, and
but I don't have the article in front of me, but it's been tweeted out, and basically it goes something to this effect: Woman meets man online. I don't know where they met. Meets man online. They get involved in an online, whatever, romance, blah, blah, blah. Man takes an interest in woman's toddler, convinces her to sexually abuse her toddler.
And live stream it.
And he's watching her do it, I believe. And I don't know, or filming it, or he money, but it's like.
But the honest truth is,
how does it even come up in conversation?
But the other point is, let's just take you and I. Let's just say that you and I are in this situation. Then all of a sudden, how do these people know where to go with these things on the internet, so that they can profit off of them?
Sure.
How do they know where to go? I don't know where to go. Do you know where to go?
No idea. But somebody does. Somebody does.
A lot of people do.
Lots of people. Right. And this is, I would assume that law enforcement knows. I assume that the FBI could figure this out.
And there's another issue. I think that we have the Central Intelligence nationally and internationally that they could shut all this down if they wanted to. Why aren't they? They don't want to. There's too much money being made. too much money changing hands. I mean, this is one of the biggest rat lines going.
Well, until the pressures, put on, it's complicated. It's complicated, but I guess, I'm always thinking about, how, what is the best way to attack this problem, because, we really don't have, we really just have each other. We don't have, we have the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, obviously, but we all know how.
Hello, who do you trust? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But we don't,
children's orgs are dangerous places.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. But, we haven't seen, how have none of these organizations that there's one, I want to say, I think they're under I think they might be at Save the Children, or Hope or something, and it's like how have none of these organizations come in, join hashtag Pedogate like it doesn't fucking exist?
No, they block everyone.
Right? How do we not have maybe but 5 famous people? Famous as in well-known, or, people over, 100,000 followers, or, verified accounts, not tweeting about this. I mean, did you see, the biggest thing, I would say one of the biggest thing of 2017 on Twitter for me, one of the biggest things was when the guy who developed Minecraft,
mm-hmm.
I don't know his name, but his ad is Notch. Did you see when he tweeted out that Pizzagate is real?
I'm sure I did. I mean, there are so many.
Yeah, he has 4 million. Yeah, he has 4 million followers. This is I think it was over the summer, and it's like, wow, that's the biggest. That is by far, and I don't know what kind of impact it had, but we have nobody, nobody in politics except for the one guy will be running against Paul Ryan. I don't remember his name.
Well, we have General Flynn, but we know what the country did to him. So,
right, right, but nobody, nobody in Hollywood. James Woods touched on it. He's going after Podesta, Roseanne Barr to some degree. But, after a year with everything that's come out, we do not have nearly what we should have.
Well, and then, of course, everything that's happened with, Corey Feldman this year. And then we see in the last month that, miraculously, the sheriff's department finds, after all of these years, the audio tapes of his conversations with them. Really? Like, who was sitting on those?
Excuse me for 1 second. I just sneezed. I was able to mute it before I did. Yeah, how is Corey Feldman not everywhere? How are people not, supporting him?
In open secret, everybody in the world has access to that information now. They can watch that film. They can learn about atrocities in Hollywood, and people are still not talking about it.
Yeah. Well,
not to the degree they should be, anyway.
Well, to be critical of ourselves and in the Pedogate online community, we don't do a very good job of bringing new people into the fold.
And that's extremely important. That's what we want. We all know what's going on. We need people that are on the fence, not sure, they have never heard about it, or they're curious.
Yes, this is the way we use. This is why we're on Twitter, and this is the way we use Twitter. Absolutely. It's not. I don't have to tell you any. Yeah. I mean, we can share information, but it would just be basically more of the same. I don't have to convince you of anything, and you don't have to convince me of anything.
No.
Right.
I mean, if anything, we all of us, we may chat about a specific case.
Sure.
It kind of blows us away in
Absolutely.
the moment.
But it nothing, there's, for the most part, we have we know what's going on. We know.
I mean, why aren't all the people in this country that have children up in arms about what's going on with Disney? I mean, why aren't people furious with executives at Disney that are being arrested for child rape, for manufacturing and distributing these materials and whatnot? And certainly these people have extreme access to children and unlimited funds for networking.
If they watch.
And the information is out there, the subliminal information that we know exists within the Disney films, and of course the whole YouTube issue of how pedophiles and people involved in the abuses of children use YouTube to disseminate information under the guise that, if you're not watching your kids and they're tuning into these programs on YouTube that look harmless and fun and entertaining and have all their favorite characters, boy, some of this stuff is a pedophile's dream.
Well, but once again, that's where we come in, and social media is one way of doing it, and obviously the community is grown exponentially over the year, but there are people that they're not on Twitter. It's very important. It's very important to us. There's people, obviously. Do you deal on the Facebook side very much?
Well, I do have a Facebook account, and it's a personal account in my personal name. Okay. So I don't. I specifically, really, I concentrate on Gab and Twitter, for the most part, and certainly I've kept my Gab account viable because one never knows what's going to happen with Twitter, and all of the censorship and restraints that they keep putting on us. But the same issues exist. Same issues exist on Facebook, and I belong to all of the groups on Facebook that discuss and disseminate information about what's going on. But it's really, in reality, it's no different than what's transpiring on Twitter. It's a sharing of information. A lot of things get rehashed, and then we know that right under our noses on any of these social network platforms, Twitter, Facebook especially, there's tons of child abuses going on behind the scenes. There's tons of accounts that exist, and we try to get those shut down, and they crop back up. And
yeah, well, I mean, listen, going after individual accounts. I mean, they're going to pop.
The biggest problem is that the power and wealth internationally that is enabling all of this to thrive and flourish and rake in billions of dollars annually. That's what we're up against. I mean, that's the animal, the beast.
But if we had more powerful voices helping us, I mean, all the.
But then is it because people are afraid? Because the people that we need to speak out.
No, it's listen. I mean, for certain people, their social media accounts are their business. Okay, I'm not going to name names, but when you get into like the 200 to over 200,000 followers,
well, you can buy them. I mean, that means nothing with a lot of these.
Well, yeah, well, whether they bought them or not, and listen.
Well, a lot of celebrities buy.
Right, and I'm all about, and I love the job that Donald Trump has done, and I'm sticking with him, through everything, and a lot of the things that have come about, I believe, are because of him. But there's a lot of these, the still the MAGAs, the red pillars, the Kofifs. They won't touch this shit.
No.
And I listen. I'll be right there. If they ever tried to get rid of them, believe me, I'll be first in line to stop it.
Well, I think it's akin to like the abortion issue. Everybody has an opinion, but that doesn't mean they're going to vocalize about it or. But
if you have 200, if you have the reach of 200,000 followers, you could.
But we ask these people. We do confront these people on social media, and they don't respond.
I know that
they don't answer the question.
Listen, I know that.
And why aren't they answering the questions? I mean, Roseanne Barr we're in her face just today again and everything. I mean, in a nice way, but it's like, hey, she's a survivor of child sexual abuse herself. It's like, come on.
She should be right, and you would hope. I mean, we need somebody, but it gets back to a why. Like, why aren't more people? Because
why is it so taboo?
Well, I'm just saying, my 2,000 plus followers. It's great. It takes me 6 months to build up to like 2,000. To 2,000
until they take our accounts. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Well, I've done it several times, but if I had 200,000 followers, can you like if we had people with multiple 100,000 follower accounts?
Well, maybe you've hit on the answer, Howard. Maybe what we need to do is we need to do what these celebrities do, and we need GoFundMe accounts to buy tons of followers, and then maybe we'll have a bigger voice out there.
Well, regardless of that, you touch on something. It going forward in 2018, we as in the community, and
right.
we have to get organized, and we have to get some money. We have to get some money to do, and use it strategically, to spread this awareness, to do certain things to get this thing moving, and not on social media, out in the streets. The things I've done over the past year, little over a year, I've done like on because I didn't really have any money. I figured out, and it really, on a shoestring budget. And I'm not saying that people have to, do some of the things that I've done, but if we had, even a few $1,000s, we had $10,000, $20,000, and we could start, getting some people mobilized, getting a little strategizing going to set up events. Don't have to be major events. Just be like, hey, why don't you go out and do this? Find people that are willing to like do some things. I mean, I have a lot of ideas, and I know how to do it, as cheaply as possible. We had talked about this before.
Right.
Everyone coming up, bumper stickers and
Mm-hmm.
writing writing things on, dollar bills and things like that. And, it's all well and good, but, we need to, I get, and I hate using the phrase, take it to the next level, but, we need to take it to the next level.
Well, I think what hurts us sometimes too is we've seen some of these, and I'm not going to names in the moment, but we've seen some of these people that have media attention, that are connected, so to speak, that have funding, that raise tons of funds, and then they never go anywhere with it. They never do anything with it. And so I think, that leaves a bitter taste too for people. Every time things like that happen, it sets us back a degree. And,
right,
and it's unfortunate.
But I do it
we never.
I'm talking about it in a completely different way. I've asked for money, on GoFundMe, and people have been, more than generous to help me out over the past year. But every time I ask for money, I tell them exactly what I'm going to do with it.
Right.
I need little money to get down to Washington D.C. I need money to go, the Hillary ticket. I need money, and people know exactly what I'm doing with it.
Sure.
And I would never, I'm apprehensive about asking, saying, we're going to start a kitty of money. And then because, who's going to be in charge of it. But all I'm saying is every dime would be accounted for.
Right.
So, but we don't have to get into specifics. It's just that I think it's time that we have to start putting a little bit of money together, and then figure, with taking some of these ideas and then putting them into action. Obviously, when it's 15 degrees out, it's a little, it's not the time. But spring.
Well, and I think, and you're someone, obviously, we know you're someone of the ilk and the personality that, you have no fear or problem going out there and confronting and,
well, I do have. No, that's not true. I do have fear.
Well, maybe healthy fear, but the point is, not everyone can do what you do, just because they can't.
Well, right.
Now, maybe in numbers, it's like anything else. We, a mob mentality. We get enough people together. There's power in numbers, and it's a safe situation from the standpoint you're with your peers, and
sure.
all the voices all of a sudden become louder.
Yeah, but I feel like I've learned something. Like there's also a power in one. It's like the guy, like the student who stood in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square, which is, probably one of the most iconic, pictures of, the 20th century. That one person standing up, when one person goes against the crowd, as long as you're not fearing for your, your personal safety, and, I was really never in danger. My personal safety was never in danger.
I don't know. Hanging out with Hillary is a little dangerous.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, but there's
been enough body bags, I think, to justify to that.
Yeah, but they're not gonna knock off some fucking lunatic protester, But
you never know. Depends on how. It depends on. 6 months from now and a year from now, we could, things could be really heated up, and it may be a completely different situation. And you maybe would look like a bigger threat, showing up in places to call people out, like Biden, for example, if he decides to run for president, and and you are whipping out your your photographs of him where, I mean, what the latest one going around is he's literally got his hand completely around a baby boy's crotch. I mean, really? And these guys making a national tour to amp everybody up and talk about what a great guy he is and how he came from humble beginnings. I mean, hey.
But he is going around, and you brought that up to me tonight. The Joe Biden tour. Do you remember what it's called?
Oh my gosh! Let me see if I
can. The American Promise Tour, something like that.
Let me look really quickly here. I've got it. What I sent you earlier today.
Yeah, American Promise Tour.
Yeah, there it is. Well, and he's promoting his book that's coming out about his dad or whatever.
Books. Oh my god! But I don't know how I missed it. It was. I mean, I went to see Hillary on November 30th, but Biden actually came on November 15th. If I would have known that, I would have gone to that also.
The only reason I knew about it today is because a friend of mine on Gab, would let me know, and I was shocked also. But I think they've been keeping it kind of on the down low. Actually, they're advertising it on Facebook.
Right. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, because they don't. Yeah, they don't.
No, I think they're kind of keeping it on the down low. All
right, I've checked out some dates. He's coming to Washington D.C. He's coming. He'll be within my. I've said it before. One of the things that has afforded me, the opportunity to do some things I do is, Philadelphia is like the perfect. It's like the perfect location. Enough happens in Philadelphia, and plus I'm able to get to both Washington D.C. and New York.
Right.
Very
centrally located.
Oh, it's just I've always I never wanted to be in Philadelphia, and my life course, and it's like, oh, what the hell am I doing in Philadelphia? And now I know. Well, I think everything happens for a reason. So exactly. There's really no other place that I'd rather be, just because it's just geographically.
It just is.
Yeah, it's perfect. So, I have a feeling I'll be running into Joe Biden more sooner than later.
Well, I'll tell you, it's ballsy in my view. That, I mean, first of all, the Democrats, who do they have to run anyway? I don't really see anyone that. I mean, what are they going to do? Hillary? I don't know. I mean, so Joey's kind of been, I think, on our minds for quite some time that they're going to.
It's going to be It's going to be.
I just can't even.
Huge mistake.
That these sociopaths think that this is acceptable to put this blatant sexual offender out there. I mean, he offends every age group.
There's no, one of my favorite, I won't say favorite, one of the videos of this ceremonial Senate swearing-ins was of Marco Rubio. So, and I'll probably should tweet it out again. And I've been meaning to tweet. It takes a lot of time to tweet out all the Joe Biden videos, and with all the stuff coming out, I'll get around to it. But it takes like an hour to get them. By the time they all get processed, and I clip them just right. But he swears Marco Rubio in, leans in. His wife is very attractive. Joe leans in and he whispers something. And Marco's standing there. He literally is like, he gives him the shoulder, tap. Oh, Joe, fucking get away. Then they bring in his daughters, and Joe's creeping all over one of them. And then when they're done with that, his Marco Rubio's mother's there also, and they all go off, and Joe sits there and then is creepy with the mom. So I call that one like 3 generations. He just, went literally to the wife, to the daughters.
Well, it makes you wonder, and like you've said this many times before, I mean, when is the last time we saw a vice president do swearing-ins where there was so much pomp and circumstance, certainly, and all of these videos, it makes you wonder, is he sitting at home at night when everyone else is in bed having a single malt scotch and just like playing through these, one right after the other? Ugh.
Yeah, I can't. God, I can't. I'm gonna look her. I'm gonna look her name up right now. In 1 second. One of the women that brought that it was a creepy encounter, but these were not. And she says it going right in. She says, "These three ladies are my nieces." What was that senator's name? Give me 1 second here. Babble on about something.
Oh, I remember talking about her. Yes.
Here, I can find it.
There's just so many.
Yeah, but but the thing was, like, why you're there? I believe she's single, and what would be the Maria? Oh, was it Maria Cantwell or something? I think that's her name. Her name is Maria Cantwell.
What state is she from? I was trying to remember what state.
I don't know. I'm gonna find. I think she's from maybe Washington State. She's a senator.
Okay.
Maria Cantwell. But it's just like, why would you bring your three nieces?
Yeah, she is Washington.
Democrat from Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you? And he, and as they're leaving, he's leaning in, and the one girl just looks completely, the oldest one just looks completely just creeped out. There's some that have made the rounds, a lot more. And, I've really, we've tried to get these, we've tried to get more out there, but, and and I've also, I wanted to, I'm not good with like video editing. I wanted to make them, a comprehensive, clip of, and because it would probably be about it would probably be about a 20-25 minute video of
his career of being a creep.
Yeah, I think one of my New Year's resolutions is to finally get this thing done, and the fact that he's coming back and that this has to be ready to go in case because people have seen 5-6 clips of him doing this stuff, but I mean literally there's something
in the DNA in that family to begin with, because his son that passed away, and then his other son divorces his wife and marries the widow. I mean, what?
Yeah.
It's like, come on here.
All right, but we obviously the midterm elections in 2018 are going to be important, but there's just so much that we can do on just getting back to on an individual level to to help these kids, because that's really what's going to take. I mean, there's a lot of information being put out by Q and the Anons and Follow the White Rabbit and all this stuff, and that's all well and good, but I don't believe anything until I see it, and anything at all. So
yep.
We can't sit back waiting for we can never sit back, and Donald Trump is not going to do this all by him. Even if he starts arresting these high level people, even if the FBI law enforcement start doing their jobs to the best of their ability, it's not enough. It's not enough. There's not enough.
The roots are too deep, and I think my personal opinion is the president, as much as I do believe in his heart that he finds all of this abhorrent and would love to wipe it out, he just
doesn't happen overnight.
He doesn't have the backing to do it. He just doesn't. Sure. And he's the president of the United States.
But even if he did have the backing, I mean, we're talking about going out and rounding up tens of thousands of people.
Well, even just if we took out the people that are promoting all this, that are funding all of it, that are disseminating it all over the country and on the deep web and everything else. I mean, that, the roots, but something about cutting the head of the dragon off too, I think would help the situation a lot. And
absolutely,
we can't get there. We just can't get there right now.
Sure, but that's not something we can do. What we can do is go after things. I've talked, in our own backyards. Things that if we see something, suspicious, just take a look. Take a look. We know this. We know the symbols. We know the pedophile symbols. We know the things to look for. We know the fronts, whether it's the art galleries, the food and beverage.
Check out even what your local police department's doing as far as children that are abused. What happens to those cases? I mean, I know here in Cleveland, like a lot of other cities, I saw major metropolitan areas across the country this year where you've got rape kits that were just shelved, literally for years, where they actually had, they had predators that confessed to these crimes against children, and they never did anything with all this.
Right, and phone calls, but phone calls
not common.
And
the prosecutors call the prosecutors' offices to see, what the status is on things like that.
Sure. So, we'll be talking, we're going to run out of time, but, we're going to be talking about, obviously, more, strategic ways of doing this, going into the new year or so. But, we've made a lot of progress. We know what is going on, and we need to, start.
We just need to find out who and where.
Who, the who, how, why. Yeah, right. We got the what.
Who, when, where, how.
Exactly. We were the question words. Enough.
And then,
I don't need any more. I don't need any more. I really don't need any more what right now.
But the why. Enough. You and I have talked about this many times, and the actual perpetrators and everything. Boy, we need more information from these people to find out the why. Yeah. We need to find out what's driving the demand, and we need more information.
But but overall, 2018, I believe in my heart is going to be an historic year. And
it's going to be a good year.
Yeah, but it's not, by no means, are we waiting, or sit around and, wait for all this to happen.
No.
There's a lot of things that we can do, and look forward to doing them. And,
absolutely.
I really appreciate you coming on, because if I had to sit here, but if I had to be on by myself,
all by myself, like the song.
Yeah, it's yeah. So thank you very much.
Well, we're all in this together, and
let me give a shout. Wish John a speedy recovery.
Absolutely, John.
You better be listening, but take your time, bro, and we'll hold down the fort till you get back, bro. And I want to wish everybody a happy New Year, and thank you for
safe and happy, healthy New Year.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And for and helping make the show possible, and allowing someone like me to have a little podcast, which helps be possible.
And share it with your friends. You guys always share this.
All right, happy New Year, everyone.
Take care.
Look forward to 2018.
Absolutely.